Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to this week's episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matt Peverell and I'm joined by my co-host, as always, every week, the big man, Davo, Mark Davison. Mark, how you doing?
Hey, Matty, how's it going? G'day, Steeler Nation. How we doing? Nice. Sunday morning here, 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. over your time in America. What an awesome time to be here. You know, this is truly now, it's truly going to be our off season. So there's a lot to talk about. And yeah, let's just have fun with the show and see what direction we go in.
That's it. There's so many question marks, so many challenges and so many considerations the Steelers have got now, and particularly with some more breaking news that's been happening. Great. Now, look, I just wanted to say, Mark, before we crack into it, because, when we get rolling, it's suddenly been an hour and 10 hour and 15 minutes and it's all over. So, and sometimes there's things that Mark and I plan on talking about and we don't even get to them. So don't want them to go into that ether there. But firstly, we just want to say thank you. So whether you're listening to this, like sort of our audio listeners that have been with us our whole time with BTSC, or whether you're tuning in live now on YouTube or you're watching this YouTube post show, which is what I started off with a lot of BTSC. Thanks for joining in on this. It really is a family. Without you guys, it's nothing. So it's just awesome. We love the fuel and the energy of the live chat. We equally love those awesome listeners that have just stayed with us on the audio side, and then have come across to my show in Cap Room. So yeah, it's great to see. And we've got some awesome regulars in the YouTube chat as well. And if you're new to the show, welcome. But yeah, big heads up to Ryan Kellerman, Ryan O'Toole, Steeler Chick 46, Elijah, he's from Steeler Nation Australia as well. Just me, Ty, Ezra, Thaddeus. I mean, the whole gang's here really. So it's awesome. Double HH. But yeah, let's crack into it. So look, massive couple of days that are the Steelers, Mark. I mean, Maurkice Pouncey, retirement. I mean, that's probably the biggest breaking news apart from JJ Watt. I don't know which what you want to tackle first, but yeah, how are you feeling hearing those very different storylines?
Let's tackle Pouncey because he is a Steeler, and then JJ Watt isn't a Steeler just yet. Pouncey, the first thing that comes to my mind is the bloke retires, but he's played 11 seasons in the NFL, and he's been a Steeler for 11 seasons. That is such a great feat in itself. It just shows you that time flies by, Matty. So 2010 he was drafted, and I don't even know his stats, but on one of the stories that the Steelers published, he had a list of all pros and 2010 all pro or Pro Football Hall of Fame team. He's a future Hall of Famer for sure, and he was our middleman and our grunt guy of the Steelers offense for a long time. And yes, we might have that one bad memory where he threw the snap over Ben's head, but as a career, what a great Steeler, and what, you can't ask for anything better. And he's going out with his brother as well. That's fantastic. That him and his brother now are just going to chill out. Maybe they go back to Florida. I think that's where they were from. They have barbecues and retire, and they've done what they needed to do for that 11 years. And that to me is some people can't hold a job for 11 days. This bloke's held a job for 11 years. So it's just, yeah, congratulations to him, mate. It sucks that he's gone. And he was such a big part, and he's a big part with Big Ben as well. But what a fantastic career. What do you reckon about, the whole situation with Pouncey?
Yeah, so this is going to sound really dumb. I should be going into what a great player he is. But the first two things to me is, number one, I was kind of hoping Mike Pouncey wouldn't have retired. I was kind of hoping he might be a cheap option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If obviously Maurkice retired. So that's a little bit of a kick in the teeth, I reckon, a little bit in terms of how we fill that center spot. But I think for me, we hear a lot about Big Ben's relationship with him and with 53, and no doubt with a few of the guys that are retiring now, I think it raises a lot of questions about Ben. But the way he defended Rudolph against, in that Cleveland game, and, he just went straight for it. The guy's pure passion, pure heart. I've seen him on social media for a while, and he does like to do things a lot outside of football as well, and it's quite a measured bloke. But, for me, I hope that we get to see him back in a coaching role at some stage over the next few years, if that's what he wants to do. I think he can offer a lot of value there. And with someone like that, with that sort of inspirational leadership and that, vocal leadership as well, I think that's going to be sorely missed out of this locker room and that passion. So that's a bit of a thing for me. But as you said, Mark, 134 career games. I think he got nominated to like 9 Pro Bowls. He was an All-Pro. He was in Team of the Decade. Fantastic sort of career here. Shame he didn't get that Super Bowl. But, we're very lucky as Pittsburgh Steelers fans. We're the city of champions. We've got 6 championships. Obviously the Patriots have come up on us too. But, you've got a lot of players make Hall of Fame that have won Super Bowls. A lot of other teams don't have that. There are teams that haven't got a Super Bowl. So, I think we go, oh, well, he didn't get Super Bowl, fine. But look at his career. He did what's required to get in there. So, I think it's 2026. He's eligible and we'll be cheering on then. And maybe that's a time that you and I can finally get over to the States by then.
Let's go over 2026. Surely he'll be open by then. Get the seat ready. Get our seat ready and warmed up, and we're ready to go and cheer him on. It's a great feat, honestly. I think this is the one where I think when Big Ben went down and Mason Rudolph came in, and straight away you saw, we were quite privileged as Steelers fans and seeing all the great passes go ahead, here, there, and then now when Pouncey goes away, there might be a big gap, and we can probably tackle that into long into the offseason, who they're going to replace and draft and of that value, but. Yeah, maybe you might see a huge gap when he's not there at that time, because he has been there a long, long time.
100%. It's a massive question for the Steelers. Massive question. True or false, Mark? Pouncey has had more than 1 reception during his career.
False? I don't know.
Yeah, he's had a reception. He did have a reception. He's had a reception. He had a reception in 2014, and it went for no yards.
It must have been like a bounce. Was it a knockdown pass? Was it?
Yeah. I
how
think so.
How would he get in the open from a center? It's not against the rules. That's a fumble right there.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a fumble recovery. So, I just pulled that up while you were talking there. But that's a good one. So, he'll be sorely missed. All right, let's bring it in. I think you've seen what I was sort of saying in the Slack channel with the other BTSC guys, and it's something I will talk about more in Cap Room this week. JJ Watt. Mark, we got to address it. Is he coming? Is he not? Do you want him?
You know the Cap side. I don't know the Cap side. I know the fan side. Bring him in. Why not? He's a veteran. He's 30-something years old. He's got his brother there. What better way to play with your brothers and have that competition? The only thing I was thinking about the other day is, what if you brought JJ in and then he ends up winning another defensive player of the year and then steals another title away. He steals a title away from TJ. But yeah, I don't know where Bud's going, where Bud's going to go on the other side, if he goes to another team or whichever. But if you bring in JJ, and if your cap room can fit this in, and if you're the owner, Matty, and you figure out the pieces and you bring him in, why don't you? He's hunting for a championship. The Steelers are on the door, right next to the door, trying to knock it down. So why not bring another Watt in? We know every fan wants it. It wouldn't be a bad signing, even if you didn't play him. You don't have to play him 100% of snaps. Why not just play him in key third downs, and he could rush the quarterback and be a real mauler like on the other side? What does your cap sense say about this whole situation? I know you're going to go down that rabbit hole in a few days' time, but what do you think?
Yeah, so you just want maximum wattage. That's what you want. You want maximum wattage in the AC/DC maximum wattage.
How long have you been trying to say that for? How long have you had the whole week?
Yeah, I've had a while actually. Classic. No, I will go into it in Cat Room, but look, I see it as well. I think you'd want him to be playing 75% of the snaps. I think that was the consensus in the BTSC Slack channel as well. I don't think it takes away from Alex Highsmith at all. Obviously, in our system, he'd be more of that edge rush from the defensive end. I think there's schemes you can work him into where Hayward goes into the middle as well. So then you can put him at that right end position or shift to it. I think it would be very helpful for TJ. I don't think JJ is going to be winning another defensive player of the year, or particularly if you're on a team like the Steelers, because of just the pressure that's spread across that line and with the outside linebackers. So there's those perspectives. From a cap perspective, unless Big Ben retires or unless there's a crazy restructure and there's a lot of movement with other players and there's a few more cuts, it's pretty unlikely. Like I did the numbers and roughly, JJ, I did do it at like 5 a.m. the other morning, but JJ would need to take a deal of about 3 to 4 million this year in 2021. Now, he could obviously sign a 3 or 4 year extension. And there's really interesting, there were some stats on NFL.com actually about this, where there are a bunch of like players that have got, huge numbers of sacks after they've turned 30. Obviously JJ's 32 right now. We've got history as the Steelers. We brought in Kevin Green as an older, pass rusher there. So, and I know there's guys like Dwight Freeney and Culpepper who both got 50 sacks after they turned 30. So what I think it would come down to, for me, would JJ take team friendly in 2021? If he did, what can you spread that over 3 years? But you've got to get 3 years out of them. This can't be a 2-year proposition. Obviously, a couple of years ago, it was 2 seasons ago now, he missed the season with a pectoral injury. So again, how has he responded from that? Is he a season off retiring, or is he 4 or 5 years off retiring?
So
that's the question.
If we do sign JJ, we would have him for maybe 2 or 3 years. What a great chance to even make this defense even better.
We need him for me, we need him for 3 minimum, but sign him to a 4-year deal for me to think it's worth it. So it's that's the consideration there. And
Who starts? Alex Highsmith or JJ if he comes in?
Well, I think you can play it differently, because, I mean, the thing we've seen with Highsmith this season, is that his pass rush is pretty up there, right? Now, I know JJ's is too, but what JJ could do in the run game also early in his career, I mean, that's the part that we want to see develop from Highsmith. So we don't want to give him any snaps or, less opportunities to do that. But it is where he had the biggest sort of work to do once Bud Dupree got injured. That's where we saw a bit of a challenge there in that run defense. So, perhaps you can sort of scheme it up that way. Like, equally, we've seen Tua, even though he had a great year last year, he was out for a couple of games with COVID. I think while he came back and had I think it was 2 quiet games after that, that was beneficial for him not to play all 16. And we know he's had injury concerns in previous years. So if you've got someone more like JJ that can spell Haywood, can spell Tua, can spell Highsmith, can even spell his brother, and that versatility, that might make it worth it in its own, because you might, we can't afford anyone to be injured, right? So that's, to me, where the value comes.
Also, which brother didn't JJ play a bit of fullback as well?
Oh, way back in the day, yeah.
Look.
But he could even play tight end. He's technically that big. Like, he's caught the ball in tight end roles as well. But that's not going to happen.
No?
That's not
One's going crazy. You have all the Watts together. You got a fullback there. He comes out of the game, put JJ in right at the guts. TD.
Do you know, Mark, when I did the numbers, and I don't want to preview too much because I do want to sort of address this, because I put a lot of work into working this out with JJ, but you pretty much would have to re-sign Derek for several seasons, which I think Steelers fans would be pretty against giving him, and you wouldn't want to give him any more signing bonuses or or what have you there. He's got enough guaranteed money, but you pretty much have to cut Derek. So that's the question. Are you going to bring JJ in to cut Derek? And Derek's the one that's got the family that, TJ and JJ fight over being the uncle for. So, I mean,
he's already kind of the forgotten brother. You can't do that, can you? That's a bit rich.
But equally, if the Packers don't move on from Rodgers, I hear all this talk about JJ going back home to Wisconsin. The Packers cannot afford him any more than the Steelers can. And there's a bunch of players that the Packers have to play. So they're out of here. For me, and I'm going to call it now, and just in case, look, I could see him coming to the Steelers. I could see something being worked out. I'm not, what the Steelers can do with the cap, as people know, there's a lot of room for flexibility. If I'm JJ, the team, and I want a Super Bowl, the team I'm going to is the Arizona Cardinals, because there's a bit of flex in what's happening with their edge rush. He can do a lot outside with them. They've got a great offense. I think that they're going to be even better next season. Yeah, for me, if I'm JJ, I'm looking at Arizona potentially as a target because the other guys like Carolina, the Jags as well, you're probably going to go to. Believe it or not, Miami have the money for him too. So this is the thing. Like, JJ will be tested in terms of what sort of thing does he want to do? Does he want to make money? Does he want the Super Bowl? Does he want to play with family? They're the questions. And if Big Ben's not coming back, this is the challenge. You don't have the cap room. You get the cap room then if Ben sort of doesn't come back. But equally, does JJ want to play with a rookie quarterback or does he want to play with a Mason Rudolph? I don't know. Is that going to get him to the Super Bowl? So I think there's some questions.
It's a lot of questions.
Questions, Mark.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on to Super Bowl really quickly. I don't want to cover too much. A lot of other people have covered their sort of pieces around it this week. We want to be really Steelers focused. But anything top of mind for you that came out of Super Bowl?
I've only got one thing, is that the old Gronky boy didn't show up the whole playoffs, and then that one Super Bowl, he had a massive game. So what do you do? And to point, I don't know how the fans in Steeler Nation would like it or how they feel about this. I don't agree with them throwing the Lombardi 6 feet over to another boat. I think that's very disrespectful. I think they should take more care in these in the trophies. And even a few years ago when Gronk bunted it like off the bat. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. But that to me, you win the Super Bowl.
I thought it was disrespectful.
Come on, you can't throw it. You can't throw it like that. What if it dropped down there? You just don't throw it in general. This is going to be something you pass around to. It takes forever in a day to get a Super Bowl, and then here's Brady throwing it like it's a pigskin. Like it's I don't know. But yeah, the Super Bowl was. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought the Bucs defense had Mahomes running around crazy, which was like he ran like I saw a stat. He ran like 300 meters or something. Like
no, he ran 300 meters for us, but like he ran almost 4. But he ran almost 497 yards.
Like he was under the pump all game. Like he was. There was no O-line for him to do anything, and he tried to do that one that dodgeball throw where he on his side and threw it, and then Williams dropped it. Like, yeah, Chiefs. I don't know if they weren't ready, but the O-line definitely wasn't ready for this game.
No, battered and bruised.
I think it was the win was more, I think, on the Bucs defense, and Brady played well. He had 3 TDs and some couple hundred yards, but the Bucs played outstandingly well to get to Mahomes, and he's given us, given teams now a blueprint what to do and how to pressure him. It's just send 4 of your best guys, and maybe we have an edge rusher like a Hilton if he's still there, and he had nowhere to go. He was just running around in circles, and you can't. It's not college. You can't play it like that in the Super Bowl.
Well, I want to say something controversial here. Like Devin White and Levante David played terrifically. And I mean, Devin White showed Steelers fans as well. And I think Devin White's got a bit more size on him, but particularly height-wise. But he showed the value of like what we've got sitting there in Devin Bush. If we'd gone up in an AFC championship game, if we'd got there, and it's like, obviously we didn't, and, we played pretty terrible down the season. But let's say we continued on the trajectory we were at 11-0. Spillane and Devin Bush wouldn't necessarily have been as effective, but they would have come close. They could have stifled KC in the same way. So whether Keith Butler would have drawn that up, I mean, Todd Bowles is a great defensive mind there. Isn't also another question, but I think that shows Steelers fans what we're going to get when we get Devin Bush back. And equally, with the Steelers now potentially rumored to be looking at an inside linebacker. I think there's a gentleman last name Collins, which is currently the one that's sort of being touted if they do go that way, and sort of a replacement for Vince, which really needs to happen because we need Vince's $4 million by cutting him. The Steelers fans should be really confident in that, because if we can sort out that middle, we're going to be really dangerous in the years to come. So yeah, for me, they were sort of the key pieces there. But in fact, Mark, I got into a bit of trouble. I was in the NFL Down Under group this week, and there was that video of Tom Brady coming out drunk off the boat. There's that guy sort of holding him up, and he looked like a college kid and all this sort of stuff. And I just put a comment up. I'm like, well, it just shows that TB12 stuff is, full of poop, for want of a better word. It's just used to basically steal money off the average citizen who's not necessarily ever going to be an athlete. Oh my gosh. I mean, that NFL Down Under Facebook group. I got absolutely smashed. Absolutely smashed.
50-50, that group.
Oh, mate, I stay out of it. But, the hate that was coming my way. Oh, you're no fun. You don't like a drink. I'm like, no, I just don't like people going on about health in it. Health, and then getting drunk as a skunk, in front of everyone. But anyway, let's move on from Super Bowl. Mark, we're going to have a little segment here that you've been teasing with me all week.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it the question mark. So let's kick it off. You introduce it. It's your segment, and I'll just go along for the ride. This
might go really well, or it might hit the dirt like Kirk Cousins in some of those games where he has no idea where to go. So if this goes really well, it's an awesome segment, and we might do it in the future. If it goes really bad, we'll just can it. Okay? So basically what I'm going to ask Matty today is I'm going to do a random number generator from 1 to 99. And whatever number we get is going to be the jersey situated to the Steelers player. And whatever player we get, I'm going to ask Matty 3 random questions and 1 extra one at the end. So we'll do this for 3 players, and we'll just do it, just a little 2 minutes on it or whatever, and see how we go. If we get like a guy from the training squad or someone we don't really know, we'll do our best to talk about the player, but he's still a player of the Steelers. So if we get someone super random, we'll just talk about the position or whichever. So are you ready, Matty? Because it's just 1 to 99. You could get Mondo. You could get anyone.
Okay.
All right. So the first player, will be.
How do I know? Okay, just pause. How do I know you're actually generating it and you're not just like you've got the practice squad players and you just all right? Okay, I trust you.
Okay. So dead set. I got 52. Now off the top of my head, I'm not even sure who that is. There might not even
JC Hassenauer, isn't it?
Is it? Let's double check. Is that really? So I'm going on the Steelers website here, guys.
I'm pretty sure it's. I'm pretty sure. Is it JC Hassenauer? I'm pretty sure.
We haven't got a 52, so this segment is going brilliantly. So let's do one more.
What's JC Hassenauer? Oh, who cares?
You might get him next. We haven't. Got
he should go anyway. I don't care what number it is.
All right. Next one is we have. If I get 2 in a row without 2 players, this is the world telling me something. Oh, I got number. Okay, look, no. I got number 2. And you know who that is?
It's Mason Rudolph.
Yeah. So here's a question for you, and this is kind of a funny one. But what overall grade would you give Mason Rudolph this last season?
Oh, that's a hard one. It depends what you give him out of like 2019, because I think he showed improvement.
No. From 2020. So
no. I'm just trying to get a baseline for it. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so hard to base around one game. I don't know. C+, midway, B-. I go B- because I'm a lot more confident in him after it. Yeah, I go B-.
Yeah. Okay. So B-. And what impact do you think he had this year in 2020?
If Ben had got injured, I think he would have played a lot better than he did last year. I think he got thrown into the cauldron on fire last year. I think given that the Steelers cap was also tight this year, he offered value at the backup position because the Steelers had one of the cheapest quarterback rooms in the NFL this season. I think they were 23rd off the top of my head for their quarterback spend. I'm not looking anything up, like as everyone could see me in the camera. So I think about 23, but they were spending $25 million, and obviously like 23 or so of that was from Ben. So to me, he offered value with decent backup performance. You knew he could almost get you to 500, which is. And when you've got 7 teams making the playoffs, makes it possible. So yeah,
and he showed that in that Browns game as well. Okay,
100%.
So third question: what is the future for this player? Big question. What's his future? What's going on?
What's the future? I don't think the Steelers will re-sign him. I don't think he'll take a team-friendly deal. There'll be someone with cap that wants a serviceable backup. So I think if Ben's back this year, we don't see him next year. I think when he's off contract.
Really?
So, yeah.
You think we move on from him?
I don't know why he would sign for him, he needs to go out there and go to somewhere where he's actually potentially going to get a start, or there's another veteran. I think the fan base is against him. So.
Okay. So that's a good, my last question is, will this player be a future Hall of Famer? And if he is, what % chance? So if he goes to another team, what do you think his chance of getting to the Hall of Fame right now?
I've got a
be honest.
I've got a bigger chance of playing tight end or being a punter for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's
Okay,
a good
cool.
answer. All right, let's go into our second player. That's completely random, so let's do another one.
This is fun. I'm enjoying this segment. I like this segment.
18, you've got DJ. That's correct, isn't it?
DJ, number 18.
Yeah, you got DJ receiver. So what overall grade would you give DJ for 2020?
So he played more snaps, obviously, than Mason Rudolph, like a heck ton more. Ooh. I mean, I'd say a B plus. I think.
Is that because of his?
I think
drops?
Claypool came on a lot, right? Well, like Deontay like played 15 games. You know, had 88 receptions of 144 targets, pretty good. He almost had 1,000 yards. No, I'm gonna go B plus. B plus.
B plus.
7 touchdowns, almost 1,000 yards. Yeah, he gets a B plus to A minus. Yeah, B plus.
So if he didn't drop those balls at the start of the year, or during the middle, he may have got an A or something similar.
Yeah, I've probably been a bit. Yeah, no. Can I rescale that then? Yeah, he gets a B for the drops. He gets a B.
B. Okay. And what?
But if he hadn't got them, he gets an A minus. He gets an A minus if you haven't.
Right. So there's room for improvement right there. So what impact do you think this player had overall in 2020, like for the whole team or the offense?
A massive. I think when we look at spreading the ball with Ben, I still don't think I completely agree with Jeffrey Benedict. I, just do not think he was used properly at all in terms of Juju, which I think affects how they use Deontay. Yeah, I mean, overall impact going forward. I mean, if Juju is leaving, which is, let's just call that 95% likely, that's going to be massive for this team to be able to get something out of Deontay, James Washington. The Steelers are going to draft. Jeff and I recorded almost similar times in terms of his Let's Ride Wednesday in my cap room, and I dropped in and referenced the Steelers might look at a wide receiver, and Jeff talked about it more. I said the Steelers picking up a decent wide receiver in the third round, and there's a lot of wide receivers. There's some quality there because Juju's not coming back. So I think Deontay's our number 2 or number 1. I think it's going to be like what it was this year, though, regardless who's quarterback. I think we're going to see, and it's what we talked about, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, there's going to be a bunch of 2As, and we need Deontay to step in and actually be that quality 2A or almost like a 1B.
All right, so you almost pretty much answered the next question, but what's the future for DJ in his role in the team? Which you pretty much answered then, but...
Well, it's actually questionable for me, Mark, because he's going to have to improve. Like, he's going to need, I think, a 1,200-plus yard season and a 10 to 12-yard touchdown season to be re-signed by the Steelers. I can see the Steelers moving on from him and not paying the money, because when he's coming up, you're going to have guys like Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt's already been on another deal. You're going to have wherever your rookies are this year. You're going to have to re-sign Bush, throwing massive money at wide receiver when we can draft him. I don't see it. So yeah, he needs some big numbers over the next 2 years to validate another contract with us.
Right. So
but equally, I agree with what Ezra's saying. I think DJ next season is great trade bait. Or if he's not performing into the trade deadline this year, swap him out for someone, bring in a veteran or someone that's on the free agent market.
So DJ won't be playing for a role in the Steelers for his future. Basically, he might be playing for another team, like a young team with a young quarterback.
Yeah, I don't see DJ retiring a Pittsburgh Steeler. Put it that way.
There you go. Well, will DJ make the Hall of Fame, and what % chance?
Oh, he's going into his 3rd season. He probably needed to do a bit more than he has now. I say he doesn't make the Hall of Fame.
So, no, do you have any % chance? Like, I would maybe give him at the moment 10% chance that, because he could have a next great 5 years or 7 years.
Well, now I've said it, he probably will make the Hall of Fame.
But maybe not as a Steeler.
Look, he's 24. Like, I think if you look at the guys that are making the Hall of Fame, you look at your bigger wide receivers. He's a bit on the small side there. I mean, right now, if you look at Pro Football Reference, for instance, they have this weighted approximate value number that sort of gauges every player ever since 1960. So, yeah, every player since 1960, basically, in their performance against their stats and how likely they are to make the Hall of Fame. He's like 6,812th. In terms of the best players ever to play in the NFL. So I just think that's so far off. And to give you an indication, Maurkice Pouncey was like 583. So yeah, no, he doesn't make the Hall of Fame. Not even a 3% chance.
Right, yeah. Let's go into our last play, and hopefully we do crack a practice squad guy because we've got a second QB and we got the receiver. Let's see what we get in this one. All right. We got 91. We got do it to it.
Oh yes.
You've been pretty lucky. You've got some players that are on in the forefront of our team. When I did it as a practice run, I got some backup players and guys that I didn't hear of. So 91. Do it to it. What's his overall grade this year, you think?
A, if not A plus. Probably A, because he did have that drop off after those. He had the drop off after COVID. So he probably could have showed up a bit more in the wild card. Like, yeah. A.
I'd agree with that for sure. So heading into that, what do you think his impact was for the 2020 season? Was he the standout player that he needed to be? Did people overshine him? Did he have to show up more? What do you think he did? Or what did he do well in 2020?
Oh, I mean, the sack count was a career high. I mean, for me, that's...
It was 10, wasn't it? No?
Yeah, 11. He had 11 sacks.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
So that was 5 more than his highest in 2015, which sort of cemented him getting that deal. I mean, that's massive. Tackles for a loss, highest of his career with 10. He had 25 quarterback hits, which was incredible there. Again, that was a career high by 5. His approximate value that I just talked about there against Deontay was, 9, which was like sort of 3 or 1 ahead of his best year in 2015. But, it's massive for him. We got 15 games out of him, Mark, as well. He started 15, played in 15. That was the best since, his rookie year where he played 16 but only started 4. I mean, yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
And number 91, do it to it. What's his future as a Steeler? Is he going to continue to be a Steeler in the next few years? Has he signed a contract? What happens with him?
So I think there's probably some part of the fan base out there that's sitting going, is he a cap casualty in terms of do you trade him? I know he's right for a restructure. That's the easy answer. I can actually tell you, Mark, though, for me, I think he needs to be extended instead of restructured, because restructured gives a very limited sort of opportunity to sort of save some cap. I actually looked at this yesterday when I was modeling TJ Watt, and right now he's signed through 2023. I actually think he needs to be signed through 2025. So then we can literally have Cam Hayward there who's signed through 2024, to it there as well on the side.
TJ and JJ. There you go.
Yeah, but the thing that will keep him in a Steelers jersey is what we can do with his contract, and certainly can we extend him, but he should be extended. Right, and our last question, and to wrap up the question mark segment or just the randomness, and you got so lucky, Matty. We didn't get any practice guys. All right, fine. Give me a fourth one then. All right, we'll do one more for this. What do you will this player make the Hall of Fame? For me, I think he will if we get him a Super Bowl or 2. That's a great question. So right now he's rated, when I look at that AV as well, Pro Football Reference, he's sort of in like number 2,899. He's got a weighted career AV of like 42. He probably does, to be honest. You're right. He probably does need a Super Bowl, or they need to be in several AFC championship games. Yeah. To give you an idea as well, like Reggie White, had 165 on this AV level, and he's only a quarter way through, and he's sort of 7 years exactly into his career. So, he probably does need that Super Bowl, or the Steelers need to be in go deep into the playoffs several years in a row. Right on. So moving into our bonus segment in our fourth and final one. Let's see who we get here. Well, it's got number 3, but I don't think we don't have a number 3 for the Steelers. No, we don't. Let's do another one. Is Corliss Waitman the punter? What's his number? The guy on the punter squad. It's not 3. Okay. But I think 3 could be Haskins if he comes in, but that's another topic. We have number 23 next. Who's 23? That doesn't sound familiar. It's Joe Haden, isn't it? Oh, it is Joe Haden. Oh, you're getting all the good ones. Oh, let's talk. Let's finish with Joe Haden then. Oh, this is actually a good one. This is a good one. Joe. He had a great. What was his grade overall this year? Oh, 2020. I think he was sorely missed, which inflates it a little bit. B plus, A minus, B plus, B plus.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, I can see B plus, and he's almost heading towards A. He was a really good, he played awesome for us.
Yeah.
His impact for this 2020. It might include leadership wise as well and other things like that. Like I'm so glad we got him from the Browns. Like he's such a good player.
Yeah, with only 2 interceptions, yeah, he's B plus for me. I think the thing about Haden is you've got to look at him in terms of that overall secondary and what he does and the way he can pounce on balls and like shut things down. And cornerbacks are hard. I did an article about this. I think it was July-ish last year around Steven Nelson being a shutdown corner. And when you go through beyond like interceptions and, tackles and, past defenses and what have you, if you look at like the yards they give up per reception and where they're throwing from and the sort of release of the wide receiver and stuff, that's what you've got to really look at to judge a cornerback, and you've got to go deeper than just stats on a page. So I think Joe Haden's performance and impact was bigger than what it looked on the stat sheet.
All right, and the future for Jumpman Joe, what do you think with the Steelers? Is he going to another team after? Where does he end up? And
he needs to be cut. You got to cut him. He's too expensive. He's got to go.
He's going to be cut this year?
I would like to see them look at what the trade market looks like. I just think you need as many picks as possible in this draft. 1, salary cap's going down. 2, Steelers have salary cap challenge. You want that. Even you can get a 5th for him or something, because at least you're getting the cap off the book and you're getting something additional for it. I don't know how the Steelers can keep him, and at 31, like with his cap number, and at 31, I don't want to see a restructure or an extension. I know he's done really well for us, but flick him on a team that's in a lot better position to sort of get a Super Bowl. Like, yeah, I can't.
I just love that how we hyped him up so much in your first words. It needs to be cut. Just get rid of him. But no, he's a great player, and he's very very expensive player. So it's going to be hard.
That $8 million. That $8 million is just too valuable this year.
In my mind, which I don't look at the cap, and this is why I can make these statements. I hope we keep him. So I hope he's there. Hope he's a Steeler. I need to start listening to your show a little bit more. Lastly, we will end on this one. We won't go into another player. Will Joe Haden will he make the Hall of Fame? And it's a very similar thing with to it. What do you think? Well, it's a great player with the Browns. Let's remember that.
Yeah. So Ezra's actually brought that up. Does he go into the Hall of Fame? That assumes he is as a Steeler or Brown. I think he would go in as a Steeler. I think players choose to go in as a Steeler sometimes as well when you look at it. I think there's something to be as a proud of it, and it's the best football city and it's the best franchise in the world. Like, that's why we're talking about this in the future, 15,000 miles or whatever it is away. What was your question there? Sorry, about like, does he make the Hall?
Will he make the Hall of Fame, and what chance right now? For me, I think he's. I think he needs. A lot of these players need a Super Bowl ring. So for me, Joe Haden had a great career in the Browns. I'm glad we got him for the Steelers. Now I think he needs to get 1 or 2 Super Bowls, and like you said, be in the AFC Championship, be in the mind eye of the NFL. People watching. Watching him. You can't just play so long and then where's your Super Bowl ring? You need to have something that has value to you. So for me, I think he's got at the moment like a 30% chance, because this team has a good chance if he sticks around with us, or he might go to another team that is on the up and coming and can get him a ring. You never know.
Yeah, I think he needs. Yeah, sorry, I was having a mental blank there because I was so fired up into he needs to go kind of thing. But I think he needs to play another 3 or 4 years. I think he needs to play. His interception rate is pretty low, like 30. He's got 29 in like 11 years. So I think he does need that Super Bowl, or to be making big plays in big games. And I don't know if the Steelers are going to be able to offer that necessarily over the next 3 years, enough that will push him into the Hall. I'd say 55% chance.
Awesome. All right, we'll cut the question mark there. Not too sure if we'll do it again. It was a bit of fun. Hoping Matty was going to get some really hard questions there, but we ended up with Rudolph, Do It To It, DJ, and Joe Haden. So back to you, Matty, in the studios.
I like that. That was good. Now we better throw to a break here, because on the audio side, that's almost gearing up for 40 minutes. So if you're listening to this on replay or on the audio side, flick over to part 2. If you're listening live now on the YouTube, just hold tight for a couple of seconds and we'll be back with part 2. And we're back on Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matt Peverell, and I've just been quizzed to the max by Mark Davison in part 1. So if you missed part 1, check it out. Great segment, Mark. I like that. I think we should keep that going for the offseason. That's a good one. We'll get our way through the roster.
Oh, we definitely will. Then I have to go into the algorithm and try and get rid of those players we already did. But we can try it. Maybe do 2 a week or something like that, and just have a little segment.
Yeah.
It does get us to learn our players as well. So, and you pretty much got every starter. We didn't get any guys. There's one bloke who's a receiver. I can't remember his name. He's number 15, and I don't think anyone knows. Cody White. Cody White didn't come up. He's a receiver on the practice squad. He's a rookie. So yeah, maybe we'll get him next time.
That's it. So, look, in this part 2, we're going to really look at some of the considerations, the challenges to the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason, and we're going to take a heap of Q&A. So we're going to try and keep this fairly tight, these sort of considerations top line, and then absolutely throw us questions. So get them ready to go. We love them. But as Steeler Chicks brought up, before we're going to start getting into all that, it's time for Slinging the Slang. So, Mark, what is your Aussie word for this week?
Mine's an easy one, and I might have already said it a few times, or a couple months back. But I just thought, when you're having a drink in the bar, and I go over to America, I just want to figure out from the live chat what you guys call a beer in a 15-ounce glass. So when you go to the bar and you order a beer, and they pour it flat as ever, and you're like, "Where's the head?" And you're like, I could almost walk around the bar and pour it myself. But what do you call a beer in the States? So for us down under in Australia, when we go to a bar, we go, "Could I get a schooner of VB, a schooner of new, a schooner of beer, or a couple of schooners?" Or that's what we call it. A schooner's like a boat vessel. I'm not even too sure how Australians called it, the beer that. But in New South Wales, where me and Matty live, it's a schooner. Do you know the story behind that, Matty? I don't even know why we call it a schooner. It just is.
I don't know. I reckon there was a bloke, JJ Schooner. And he made all the glass when Australia came over in the first fleet. I don't want to go down. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. We're not going to go there on this show. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
What's yours this week? And up here in the live chat, I see pints is draft. But yeah, we call them schooners. What's your Aussie word?
Mine is saying, which actually works really well with the schooner. I can imagine you were this on the schooners. Is flat out like a lizard drinking. Yeah. So I think anyone that sort of can picture that one. So lizards obviously like the hot weather. If they're going for a drink, they're obviously absolutely, having a bust a gut. But it means basically going or working as hard or fast as possible. And I think what we're seeing with retirements for the Pittsburgh Steelers, what we're seeing with the cap challenges, what we're seeing with they need to get this draft right for the Steelers this offseason is summed up. They're flat out like a lizard drinking, basically.
100%. And going into that, we have a super chat here from Sean Manahan, and we did address this a little bit in the first half, but it's always fun to talk about again. Do you see? Thanks for the $2, by the way, or $2. Do you see JJ joining his bros in the black and gold, Matty?
Not if they draft Patrick Jones with the first draft pick. So, look, the fact that I'm sitting here going the numbers don't really work, there are other options. Keep to it. They're probably going to find a way to bring him in, knowing my luck. So I can say I don't know. My gut feel isn't. No, I'm just going to go no, and then be really happy when they do. So yeah.
Yeah, do you think if we have JJ, it's going to change a lot of things and improve this defense even more to where we can shut out teams or keep them under 20 and have, and the duration of the whole season will be a lot better as well.
The problem is though with the cap, it's not that we can't, you can afford him if you'll take $6 to $8 million this year. Hypothetically, you can afford him. But what you've got to give up to keep him is going to weaken this defense, which is why I'm like, why bring him in? We need to do stuff in the secondary. We need to bring someone in the inside linebacking core that, and I'll go into that in a cap room this week. But, is he going to change this defense? Yeah, but he might change it for the worse if we've got to get rid of a bunch of guys just to bring him in. So that's my concern. And it's been covered in the live chat as well. He's a luxury pick at this point for us. He's a luxury addition rather than solving a problem. And for me, this is not the year to be going after those guys. So
okay, here's a good question though. Did you think we would ever get Minkah Fitzpatrick though? And we traded away at first to get.
Yeah, I did when he this is going to sound like okay, whatever, Matt. But when he put his name up, then when he put in that trade request, I was just like the moment I saw it on Twitter, I was like, you know what, the Steelers have had this problem at free safety for so long now. I don't know. And I was definitely sure they were gonna. I remember saying it to my fiance. I was like, the Steelers, if they're going to get this draft right, are going to trade up to get Devin Bush. I feel like they're the right moves. I feel like I knew them. So, and Minkah's a very different proposition to JJ. Like, I know JJ's family is sitting here in Pittsburgh, but Minkah filled a need. We got younger at a position. He was a player the Steelers wanted, but we're too late in terms of the draft order to be able to get him. Like that's a lot more of a logical move there. And they didn't have to get rid of anyone to do it. And equally, we'd lost Ben. They knew that we needed to do something on defense if we were going to be able to support a quarterback like Mason Rudolph with no veteran there. So in the quarterback room and not rely on the offense. So yeah, that made a bit more logical sense to me.
Yeah, 100%. What else we need to cover? Any other blaring issues with this defense, or where do we start?
Yeah, it's look, the whole thing's a challenge. I want to bring up a question here. I think we're starting to get some awesome questions. It's way far back. I think it might have been Ezra. And apology if it wasn't Ezra, but there was a question around what free agent running backs can we afford? Look, there are a bunch of free agent running backs sort of around that $3.5 million mark. They're a bit older though. You've got Mike Davis at the Panthers at $3 million, Matt Breeder's at about $3 million or so. James White, at the moment he's around $4 million. I don't think he deserves that money. Tevin Coleman, but Tevin Coleman doesn't necessarily fit what we like to do at the running back position. My big smoky, and we talked about it a few weeks ago, I think Mark Ingram could be a really interesting pickup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, especially if you're going to draft a running back in the second round, he just provides you with a bit of power in that running back room, and a bit more so than Benny Snell and a bit more proven. But, he's 32. I think Leonard Fournette's out of our price range. I wouldn't want to bring in Carlos Hyde, and the rest of the guys are whatever, really.
So this goes into what ex-Eddie B is saying. I'll bring it up here in just a minute. So if we bring in Ingram, how do you see ex-Eddie B says here, do you guys see Canada using Watt more in this offense? So if we have Ingram in the backfield, if he's running behind Watt, that's two big physical players on that O-line. What do you reckon?
Are we talking about JJ or Derek?
I assume it's Derek, but if it's JJ, 100% put him in. I assume it's Derek.
Yeah, no, I assume it was Derek too, but that was my question to you, Mark, because with JJ playing fullback and tight end. I think Watt's a really interesting one. I think he can do more out of the pass game than what Randy Land could come up with, so I'm interested to see what Canada can do with that. And we know Canada likes to use that H-back. We've talked before about how Jalen Samuels was used for NC State or NC whatever, NC State when Matt Canada was there. So yeah, I'm interested to see what Watt can do, but he's got to do something more than what he's doing on special teams at the moment. Even though I have said that on Catroom previously, that was value given that he's more beneficial when fit than Tyler Matakevich, and Matakevich signed a $5 million deal. I think it was per year with the Buffalo Bills. But yeah.
So if they use Watt more as a fullback role, which he is, do they take away his snaps on special teams? What happens there? Or does he just play both? Is he just
No, he needs to play both. I think he struggled with the injuries this year, and I think therefore he could have a lighter load. But with the deal that we signed him to, he needs to be not just an active participant. He needs to make an impact.
Okay, excellent. I've got another one here, and this might be more down your alley, and I assume it's draft.
Yeah,
Javier Mori says, who would you rather, Etney or Harris?
I'd
I
rather
have no idea. Who do you think?
I'd rather Javonte Williams in the second or third round. I think, look, Harris has got that pedigree, you know. Etienne, equally, if you're going to get him, he's a fine player. For me, though, Etienne, you could get high in the second round. That's where you draft back. I mean, I am probably going to say this 8 billion times before the draft, particularly now there are a few teams that look like they're going to be drafting tackles ahead of the Steelers in the latest mock drafts. If the Steelers aren't going to get an inside linebacker, like that's one rumor, or a Patrick Jones at the defensive end position and get younger there, for me, trade back. This is the draft to trade back. You know, I said this on Cameron a couple of weeks ago. You know, that Warren Buffett quote, when everyone's being greedy, be fearful. When everyone's being fearful, be greedy. This is the time to do it. You know, if there's not the right guys on the board, go back. The thing about it is if you can get a couple of second rounds, a couple of third rounds, we're going to get compensatory picks. Each position becomes cheaper, which means you can afford them. You can fill more needs. We're not locked into, you know, round one money. It does mean we don't have fifth-year options, which I think can be really valuable at certain positions. But it's not it's not the worst thing in the world. So I'm still an advocate for trading back, and I know that hasn't happened since 2001. I think it is.
No idea, Matt. I'm just reading the questions, mate. You're doing the answers. This is really a question show, isn't it, for you? We're putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm in the hot seat.
All right. So Big Al says, what's one position you absolutely wouldn't want the Pittsburgh Steelers to draft, but you could see them doing it? What do you think?
That's a great question. That is a great question, Alfred.
It is.
Yeah. And feel free to jump in for me, Mark.
Nah, mate, it's all you. Who do you
I'd
think?
say defensive tackle. I think. Well, that depends when you draft them. I don't. If you're talking about a high draft pick, it would be defensive tackle.
Mine be safety, because they might get a safety who's really good, but then do we need a safety because we have two safeties? That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I like Nick Cross, and I don't know if he's opted in yet. I really want them to draft Cade Stearns as a Longhorns fan. I think he could offer us something. And then you can do more with Edmonds in sub packages as well. Yeah, I think you're right, but I think it's with free safety, and then them go, oh, we're going to put someone in at free safety, and then we can move Minka around. It's hard because we've got so many needs, and we've got expensive. I know, 100%. Don't draft a kicker. Do not draft a kicker. But I could see them doing that if Boswell doesn't agree to a longer term extension or restructure, because his cap number's too high.
Right. Okay. So our next one we got here from Chad on Facebook. Would you take a filler, free agent Peterson? I assume that's Patrick Peterson, to replace Joe Haden. But aren't they not very similar styles of CBs? Well, not styles, but they're getting up in age.
They are, but for me, Patrick Peterson's ceiling has always been much higher than Joe Haden's. Equally, I think I agree with. I saw a piece on this week from Bucky Brooks, and he sort of talks about Peterson's longevity in the NFL being at the safety position if he's willing to make the move there and put on a little bit of size. I completely agree, and again, I'm big for seeing how we can free up Edmonds to do a bit more in the box. And I think that will make this defense a lot faster as well in different places. Yeah, I would bring him in. But the problem for me is that you probably need to bring him in at least on 2021 on 4 to 6 mil. And I think he's more in that 8 to 10 mil mark this offseason. So I would bring him in. And, you know, there was rumors, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, that the Steelers were going to bring him in. So, yeah, I would take a flyer on him.
All right, and now we have one here from Steeler Chick 46, and going back to the draft. What is the most likely player we draft in the first round?
It's gonna be on the I think it's gonna be on the O-line, but I don't know. The good tackles are gone. I just think I just want them to trade back, but you know, there's a lot of hype. I can see them pulling in a running back, particularly if Ben's not back, and needing to give Mason or Haskins or whoever else you're bringing in some weapons there. But I would go Zaven Collins. Like at this point, if we're still sitting at number 24 and he's available, you got to go Zaven Collins.
And I know nothing about the draft, but he's a running back, I assume.
Zaven Collins is the inside linebacker. He's one of the top tier guys.
Well, there you
He'd
go.
be faster than Vince, but a thumper there, and would really it'd be yin and yang kind of thing with him and Bush.
There's my first blunder of the day. I was just trying to segue into the next question. That's all. So we have one here from Thaddeus Kennedy. Says, how much money do you think Connor will get in free agency? And these are great questions, by the way. And is there
They're
better
awesome.
is better than anyone we can afford in free agency right now?
I mean, what about you, Mark? What are your thoughts on there? Because I know you're you've got some time for Connor.
Well, I don't know. Like, I'm not too sure what the Steelers will do. I kind of think that his time may be up, and it might be best to part ways, and we go with someone younger, and we develop McFarland more. We use Snell as a number 2. Maybe he gets a better O-line around him. As for the money side, I really don't follow the money side that much. And I don't know if we bring in we could bring in Ingram or someone like that. But I think you go to the draft. I really do. Maybe you bring in a free agent, but you draft someone as well, and you have three or four guys there fighting it out. I think we tried Connor over the last 4 or 5 years. I think we've seen what he can offer. He hasn't got the breakaway speed that we have seen in other running back. He doesn't have that big flashy play. Great human, and he's played well first night. His story is awesome. But I'd be more hurt, which they may get rid of Hilton, than I would Connor at this stage for the running back. I'd like to see something just happen in this offense where you can have a physical back and run someone over, have a bit more pace and set the edge and really do more things and be more successful with the team in that way. Connor's done great, but maybe it's his time, like a lot of teams do. When you get to a certain point, you just have to both go their ways. Like, JJ's done with the Houston Texans, although they've pretty much got rid of all their players. So I don't know what they're doing up there. I'm not too sure. I draft someone and then develop some of the guys behind, and hopefully you see Snell have a bit of it. Can get. I've said it before. Get 3 yards, get 4, not 2. I'm sick of seeing that. We're all how I don't know.
Classic. For me with Connor, I'd bring him back. Oh, look, and I'd bring him back if you. It's so funny, Mark. Actually, you'll enjoy this. For all the Madden players out there, I let him go in free agency, and he's now in a 2 tandem with J.K. Dobbins, and they're belting around the league like a Kareem Hunt and Chubb sort of situation for the Browns. But in real life, back to real life, I would say with Connor, if you could sign him for let's say $2 million this year, $2 million, and then he gets incentives that are like, if you get 1,000 yards, you get another mil. If you get, or let's say you get $750,000, and then you get another $750,000 if you run for more than 10 touchdowns. Okay, bring him back for around that $3 million mark and backload it off a 2-year deal. But I just think another team will have the money to offer him, and he'll get roughly $5 million a year on anywhere between 3 and 5 year deal with guaranteed of like $12 million, and he's taking it because it's more than what the Steelers will offer.
Yeah, he might not fit our purpose for this season and for the longevity of the Steelers. So. Maybe it is really best for both worlds. We've got Snowman's chat coming up in a little minute, but before we do Snowman's chat, I believe it was, and this will tie into it. What positions, Cree says here, what positions do you guys think, this is all you, Matty, you're going to help me with the draft. What positions do you think the guys draft for the first 3 rounds? Now, for me, I would say that I just want an O-line guy. I don't care who it is, has to be O-line the first round. But what do you think for the first 3?
It depends on the compensatory picks. I think we might be due for a third there. I think you're going to get at least someone on the offensive line, probably 2 guys on the offensive line. You will get a running back or a wide receiver, maybe even I think they're potentially in both. If someone like a Trask falls, into that 2nd or 3rd round, I can see the Steelers picking there. If you can't get a QB in the first 3, well, really for me, first 2 rounds, don't bother. There are plenty of other people that you can bring in and look at a different draft. But we did say positions, so I think they're bringing a guard or a center, or someone that could play both. Unless there's, as we'll preview Snowman's question, they're bringing an offensive tackle in those as well. Yeah, that's probably where you're going to see it. So it'll be O-line, RB, wide receiver. And then I'm hoping in the fourth they get a tight end because there's a couple of good tight ends in this draft.
So you're going all offense, you're not going any defense in for the third round?
No, sorry, I should have said I do think that they might get if Zaven Collins is available, they'll draft him at inside linebacker, and they should get an inside linebacker if they can. But again, there's only 5 or 6 guys that you want to get there, in this draft.
Okay, we got a super chat here from Snowman. So Snowman, thanks mate for the $5, which is about $47.98 in Australia, which is excellent. Would you guys draft a center like Creed Humphrey in the first round? If I can just go first, love his name, Creed. Let's sign him up. That's all I know about the guy. What do you reckon, Matty?
Well, he must be a good bloke because Creed's a good bloke and he's always in the live chat. So, Creed should be up there. But I agree what actually is being said a little bit in the live chat here. Centers, you don't really draft in the first round unless you've got a massive gap. If we were picking like 28 to 32nd, I could kind of see it. But again, I'd be like, can you get him in the second round? He's not worth, for me, first round money. The concern about Creed Humphrey, and I think it's been alluded to in this live chat, and I completely agree. I do have a second round grade on him personally, but I don't want the Steelers to pick him because Pouncey's retired. That's forcing ourselves into a pick. And when you do that, you make mistakes. Draft best player available, draft to fill, future needs or needs that you're getting over the next couple of years. Don't do it now. There are veteran guys you can bring in. There are guys later in the draft as well that are potentially, are options there that you can develop. Yeah, I don't think this would be the smartest pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So what you're really saying is you don't want to put Artie Burns at center. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah, pretty much. That's it. That's it. But the thing is, I agree with what was coming through the live chat. Like if you want your next center to be a Pittsburgh Steeler for 10, 12, 13 seasons, do that with the right scouting. Unless Pouncey told them at the start of the year he was going to be out, and the Steelers, and it could have all happened. They've got the sort of scouting department that's ready to go there. Is there a guard that they think that can snap the ball really well, that they can shift as well, and we go a bit bigger? I don't know. I think Matt Canada's going to get some choices in these first few rounds as the new offensive coordinator. I don't think Adrian Clem is going to get those choices or have that sway. They don't want to give weapons around. So yeah, no, I wouldn't draft Creed.
Here's a good one from Chad again in Facebook land. If Sam Darnold was available by the Jets, would you go and get him?
Mason Rudolph and a fourth if we've got a third and fourth compensatory pick. Oh, no. Actually, I'd just go Mason Rudolph and Mason Rudolph and a fourth.
Right. I think does it depend, though, if Big Ben's going to come back or not? Like, do you bring Sam in for a backup job, or does Sam need to start? I think he needs another chance in a better team. I think the Jets have used him tremendously, awfully. He just needs a shot. Like he has a big arm, and I think he's got a. It's hard to have a career when you start like that. When those kind of franchises that put you in a really tough position. Coming to the Steelers, you might have a good chance to be better.
Yeah, I think. But if I'm Sam, I think you only do this if Ben's not coming back. But if I'm Sam Darnold, like the Jets had a rubbish O-line there for a while. The Steelers will have a better one, but it won't be it won't be light years ahead of, some of the O-lines he's had at the Jets. He doesn't necessarily have a running back, which he didn't really have in Lav Bell there anyway. Like the only benefit of him going to the Steelers would be that the defense is a lot better, so he wouldn't be forced into a lot of positions. I think there are better teams for him to go to. Like if I were him, I'd be trying to get into the Colts potentially.
I agree. I just don't think that Sam would, the Steelers would chase for Sam. I don't think he's a high priority, and it's a massive move. And I think it would anger a lot of fans if we got rid of Ben and we brought in Sam or Donald here. I don't think it's not a smart move. If it happens, sure, I would support the guy. I would, hopefully he would have a great career, but is he going to turn into, Big Ben has been a franchise quarterback for now 17 years, pretty much the whole time. When I saw a comment there, I started watching when Tommy Maddox was there. number 8, and then Ben came in the year after. So I don't think he would be the next big guy. And we already brought in Haskins, so I don't know what's going to happen in that situation. But it really depends if Big Ben comes back or not, and then if they like the transition to fill in Big Ben's shoes for Sam would be huge. So I don't even know even if he would want that. I certainly do think he wants another team though. Not sure where, but like he needs another chance. And like with that Jets team, they were almost playing to lose, or the coaches weren't putting him in the best position to win. So he definitely needs to get out of that environment, maybe go to a new team and just see what happens there.
Yeah, totally. I just don't think this. I don't think the Steelers are the answer for him. I just don't see. I don't see that necessarily being the choice of place. Put it that way.
Well, we've got another one here just to go into that. Is Maury says here, who's better right now, Darnold or Haskins?
Darnold.
Yeah,
like Haskins might have more potential. He might have better like tangibles and what have you. But Darnold's the one with the experience. Like, and to me, I think he can read a bit more into that. Read the defense probably a bit better at the NFL level. Maybe it's different on who's got more potential and promise. And then of course you probably might go Haskins, or maybe the definite Haskins. But yeah, it depends on what we're looking at there for me. I want to bring up Steeler Chicks. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to bring up Steeler Chick's question. Steeler Chick 46 on the YouTube side of things. Did I hear correct that Pittsburgh coaches went to Trevor's pro day? I think I heard the same thing. Obviously, the Steelers aren't in there for him. I mean, we'd have to pull off the mother of all trades. But I think you got to do due diligence. And who knows, they might be looking at another quarterback and they want to balance what they're seeing for another quarterback by looking at the guy that's touted as number 1. I mean, I think that's when we look at some of the players when the Steelers have successful drafts. They're very much looking at the comparisons of what they see in other players. And I think we look at that particularly with how well they do drafting wide receivers, in the second and third rounds as well, and even later. So that's due diligence. And if they weren't, I'd be like, what are you doing at the moment? Because you got to get better.
Yeah, I actually watched a bit of that his pro day yesterday. It goes for about an hour, and you can pretty much summarize. Yeah, it was good to watch, and it just reminded me of things getting back to normal and the draft stuff. But you can pretty sure, like I know with the commentators, they had to talk about him for an hour, throwing a ball to no defense, and you're like, he has a great strong arm, he does this and this, and you're like, yeah, you're just covering what you said the last 15 minutes, dude. Like it was cool to watch, and I'm excited for the draft, and like he's definitely going number 1, isn't he? He's going to the Jags, isn't he, for sure?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, particularly with their quarterback room. I mean, you're not going to go with Lutz or Minshew. But I actually have to say, and no one's perfect, right? And I, don't have a very strong arm myself, but of course, I'm nowhere near. I'm, a billion years away from Trevor Lawrence. But I didn't like. I got to say, some of his short throws and when he throws outside the numbers, I should say. Raised a couple of questions for me. I still think he's number 1, but I expect a little bit more out of those. But that's just me. That's just me.
It's always though like it must be a lot of pressure for these guys going number 1, and then just the hype overall. And Joe Burrow, he handled it quite well, and I think he'll be a tough guy in the future to verse as a Steeler fan to watch him. And it's for these young blokes. And imagine being number 1 and you have to be the franchise now, and you got to turn everything around. And it's all up to you. So, and we've seen it with who's the bloke in the Chargers guy? Is it Herbert? Like he played really well, and he wasn't number 1. So it's either they grab it by the bull by the horns and they go for it, or they succumb to under pressure.
100%. I want to bring up Brad Jewett's comment from the YouTube side. The only quarterback we draft this year is Mac Jones. If he's available at 24, he's not going to be, and I don't want him. Address QB in 22 and see what we have with Haskins. Agree on Mac Jones. Mac Jones's arm is not what we want to bring in the Pittsburgh Steelers. He needs a heavy run game, a bit more dink and dunk from what I see in the value of him at the NFL level. Yeah, if the Steelers sign Mac Jones, or draft him in, I should say, with the 24th pick, I'm going to be livid about that. Like I would go on about that for a long time. Like that is a bad pick. That is worse than Artie Burns if they pick him at 24.
We need a live reaction for that as well, which might be.
They will be.
Sure if I think BTS might be doing something for the draft, we got to figure that out, or Bad's got to figure that out. But that would be hilarious to watch.
I would be happy, man. And Mark, you know my rants off there. But bring up John Stevens' comment as well from YouTube. And happy to bring in some Facebook questions if anyone's got them on the Facebook side of things. 2022 or 2023, if we have no solid O-line or run game, we're just throwing some kid under the bus. Agree, 100%. We've got to provide. But equally, if there's someone that, let's say it's not Russell Wilson that's gone, sour in a Seahawks, but there's another, top quarterback that's not happy wherever he is. We want, let's say, whether it's Kyler Murray or whoever it's going to be, we want to be that team that suddenly has some cap because we've got cap those years, but we're an exciting prospect. It's like what I said 6-7 weeks ago with Deshaun Watson. Does Deshaun Watson really want to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers who have, questions at O-line? No, you don't. You're going to be running for your life like Big Ben was. Like that's, this season, or having to throw it, in 1.2 seconds, or, and we know it's more like 2.3 or whatever it was. But my point being is that, like, I agree. Let's create some surefire, I guess, safety in terms of where you trust in your O-line and your run game.
Definitely got to build that wall back up and have a better push for sure.
Awesome. Well, we'll start to wrap it up with a couple of last ones. I think this is Javier Maury better than Burrow. I think he's referring to Lawrence there. Oh, I don't know. I think Burrow surprised me. I think he did better this season than what I thought he would his rookie year. Just
depends what team he goes into, and it's hard though. Like college tape, and even Burrow now, it's still only one season. I think we select these guys and we think, okay, off 1 year, he's going to be terrible, or off 1 year he's going to be awesome. So let's just see how their career plays out the next 3 or 4 years at least.
That's it. That is it. John Easton says Steelers are not drafting, trading, or getting any free agent QB. Quit hating on Ben. They're taking Najee Harris or their O-line. I don't want them to draft Najee Harris. I just think you can get good running backs in the later rounds.
I still think they go with an O-line. I think that's what the Steelers have done in the past. I don't think they do. They won't shock you like you said you'll be with a QB or an RB or a receiver. I think you've got to build in those trenches. You've got to help Dotson out. You've got to somehow maybe not stretch for a center, but you've got to get a guard or something like that. And yeah, they've got some things. They really got to start to figure out how this going to the next. The next career for the next QB behind them is going to develop and push. Like we had, DeCastro's still there, but he's getting long in the tooth now, and you've got Villanueva there as well. So it's like these are Ben's guys. Who's going to be their guys for the next quarterback? And it's Ben next year, I think. But the year after that, when we get a new quarterback in there, who's going to be there, and how do we do that with our running game as well? We're going to get that free agent guy like Ingram coming in, and like all I want, and what I stress, and a lot of fans want, is just a physicality back. You saw in that Super Bowl with the Bucs, the defense and just their running game too, just so physical, and just the way they're pushing people around. That's what we need to get back to, and that's what I think that's where the leadership will come from some of these players as well.
That's it. I mean, and Villanueva's off contract. DeCastro, I mean, I know Jeff said this week he's got a feeling DeCastro will retire. I think DeCastro's got a couple of years left, if that. Again, I don't know what you'd necessarily get for him. I think he should be traded, get his number, and get picks. I'm just all about getting picks. We've got so many needs right now, and we've got to get younger. So DeCastro's future with the Pittsburgh Steelers is, if he comes back, great. He'll do something. I think he'll have a better year. But yeah, let's see. We've just last couple of questions. I think there's one from Thaddeus, and we'll throw to Snowman. But Thaddeus says, "Can Haskins be our starter in 2022?" Mark, thoughts?
Just quickly, I'm not too sure. You got to make sure he gets up the depth chart. Really, he hasn't got a jersey number yet. I don't know. I would like to see him be number 2 for a little bit behind Ben, and then if Ben goes away, yeah, give him a shot. He's been then it'll be 3 or 4 years into his NFL career. So that's that's my answer to get around that question. Just to dodge around it.
Dave Schofield answer.
Yeah, exactly.
And bring up Snowman's just to probably close out the show. Samuel Cosme in the first, tackle from the Texas Longhorns, and Javonte Williams in the second. Snowman, if they can get Cosme up for 24, even if they can draft, like trade up and get into sort of those mid-teens, terrific. I'd be thrilled with those two picks. That would be an awesome situation. You know, I'll be cheering on absolutely cheering on the sidelines. I will, whoever the Steelers pick, but you know, as long as it's not Mac Jones. But yeah, no, that would be awesome if we could get those two guys. That'd be terrific. I think Darasaur as well. I know Ezra's just popped up him, and then he's definitely a mid-20s pick for me if you're going to go in the first round. But even my grade on him though is deeper into the second round. But Mark, any final thoughts before we close out the show?
No, it's been a great show. Thanks for everyone coming into the live chat. This is always awesome for us. It's our Sunday. It's now 10:30 a.m. So I'm not too sure what it's over there in USA land. It might be 6 p.m. on the East Coast. It's always fun coming on here. It's always good to talk Steel football, have a bit of a laugh. We enjoy the live chat. I still haven't met Matty in person yet, which we're still trying to figure that out. But yeah, this is awesome. I really do appreciate how I can be in this forum and like I don't know too much about the draft, but I do learn from Matty about the cap room and stuff like that. For me, I just turn up in our Monday mornings at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. and I put the TV on and I just want to see our Steelers succeed. I don't care who really wears the jersey. As long as they're a good person and they're doing good things on the field, then, you know, I'm all for it. I just want to see this club succeed. If players do go away like Mike Hilton, or if Vince Williams isn't there, or if Matty wants to cut Joe Haden, then I'll be, you know, a little bit mad. But that's part of the process, and that's why we are still fans. And I like this community is just amazing. My Steelers Nation Australia community is amazing too. I have a lot of fun with that. That's how I met Matty here. Yeah, it's awesome. This is what we talk it. And then when we can travel the world again, I'll wear my jersey, I'll wear my shirt, and I'll bump into someone that's a Pittsburgh fan, and we'll talk about this forever. Like we could go on, you know, a 12-hour podcast if we wanted to. Our throats would be dry, but it'd be a lot of fun.
That's it. That's it, Mark. And yeah, just complete second that. Ezra, totally. It is truly a Steeler world. The Steelers are the best fans in the world. Big Ben said it. We know it on the other side of the world. We know it for all the listeners out there that, you know, don't necessarily get to join the live YouTubes, but listen to us on audio from wherever they are. And I think in Canada and stuff. That's right. I'm on Sutton. I just will caveat, I wasn't on Sutton until late in the season. I just think you can.
That's so true, by the way, Ezra. That is so true. We do disagree on that. I think Hilton's a better player, but there we go.
Black and gold goggles. We do need to close this down, but black and gold goggles says, do we take Mac Jones if he's there at 24? Max, scroll back a little bit once we end the show on this, and you'll hear my thoughts. You'll hear my thoughts in terms of Mac Jones. So, yeah, but with that, everyone, thanks for joining us. We'll be back live with you next week, Saturday, about 5 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time in the American East Coast. Have a great weekend. And, yeah, we'll catch you then.
Go Steelers.
Go Steelers.